I have returned. Hi. I know I disappeared for like 2 months. This is because school was being annoying, so I kind of ran out of time to do anything. So it's currently the school holidays, so I just thought to myself, alright then, I will get a video made while I'm there. And so what I've got here is my Dreadnought fleet kitted out with the Taurus Dreadnought and the Ark Battleship, and the new ship that came out called the Subverter. And that's basically what I'm going to be showing you all today, is that ship. Now, I have done a battle with this before. It turns out the Subverter is a lot stronger than the Ark Battleship right off the bat. My Ark died in one battle. The Subverter lost like 10% of its health. And this is the Subverter here. It's got the same firing angle as a cruiser, which is quite nice. And it's kitted with some nice little weapons at the same time. The new driver weapon that we got with the Subverter happens to be very good. It has ricochet details and deals DOT, so we've got quite a nice weapon there for a driver. My Subverter is literally about to die because I was not paying attention. But anyway, aside from the weapons, the first noticeable detail is that the phase shift, or overdrive, or whatever it is, of the Subverter is the largest of all the ships currently. Down here you can see the difference. It's covering almost 50% of the bar itself. So that means that the Subverter will enter overdrive mode faster than all the other ships, and will remain in it for longer. Something else you might have noticed is that Subverter has fighters that it deploys. And this is quite nice. We got the new thing for Reach Squadron with this thing, which has a ridiculous range, as you can see. Like, this is a ridiculous range. So yeah, those things go for a long way. I'll be kitting my carriers out with them as well, because it does say in the description that they were made for carriers, so that'll be fun. Now, the third thing you'll have noticed is that Subverter has this little perk here, where it launches these small missiles dealing kinetic damage. This happens when it's in overdrive mode, and any enemies that enter the range of the fighters will be blasted with that. And it's quite an interesting perk, similar to the perk of the Plexus carrier from the Pharmacon faction. So Subverter has 2 weapon slots and 2 fleet slots, squadron slots, whatever you call it. It has 3 shield slots, 3 health armor slots, and 2 special slots with a paint slot, a resistance slot, and a power-up slot. And it's quite manoeuvrable for a ship. And because of the cruiser-like firing arc, you can get some very nice advantages over the enemies in forms of manoeuvrability and being able to actually defend better, because you can then just broadside them and you can head on them rather than having to mess about with things like freight firing arcs and destroyer firing arcs, etc., etc., or battleship firing arcs. Along with this, Subverter is a new class of ship, you know, we have the Titan, the Ranger, and the Fighter. This one, I can't quite remember. I will check after this battle. But we got an entirely new class of ship with this. And the description is that it is designed to inhibit the abilities of the enemies. So basically, it's a nerfing ship that's quite happily going to just slaughter all the enemy's abilities. This, in particular, Subverter is very good at giving the enemies DOT stacks, which is quite good. It also disrupts the shield recharge of enemy ships per hit. So that means that when fighting these kinds of targets, or other Liberators targets in PvP, the shielding does not recharge as it would normally if you have a Subverter in your fleet. Which is pretty overpowered if I think about it for long enough, because that means that the enemy can't regenerate their shields, and that basically means that the enemy is just going to run out of shields, and then you're dealing full health damage. And this is actually due to the Reach Squadrons, because the Reach Squadron disables the shield recharge. So, it's quite a nice thing to have. And I'm going to equip my carriers full with Reach Squadrons, and then basically my carrier is overpowered, because it can then be a proper support ship, which is what carriers were originally designed for. Carriers were designed to be support ships in general, and to support the fleet in combat, so that the fleet can actually destroy the targets, to make it easier for the fleet by inhibiting the capabilities of the enemies. And so, the Reach Squadron, because it disables the shield regen on ships, would be the best candidate for this, because it's just going to make it so that you're dealing full health damage. Because the shield recharge on these ships is extremely annoying, because you just can't get past the shield, so you're not dealing as much health damage as you can. But when you disable the shield recharge, you're dealing 100% health damage, which is really, really good in the terms of ships like Switch, when you're using the Rife missiles, because the Rife missile does not have a very good shield bypass, and therefore is dealing almost all of its damage to the shields, rather than dealing the damage to other things such as the health. And Subverter, having this perk of being the only ship that isn't a carrier that has these things. Subverter, so far, is the only ship that has fleet squadrons, aside from Demon Corps, which has one ship, the Legion battleship. And that's literally it. So if I bring my fleet back, right about now, we can actually have a look into more depth and detail of what Subverter actually is, in terms of it being the new ship type, which is, honestly, it's pretty interesting to think that Subverter got it. I've got quite a nice kit already, but if I do that and that maxes the mass limit, which is bang on perfect. So the kit I'm using, because Subverter cannot handle its own weight, is I'm using 2 Deflector Barricade Shield Mark IIs, 2 Graphene Armor Mark IIs, Mark 5 Basic Cargo with a Mark 1, 2 Mark 1 Reverb Drivers, which is the new driver, which has Ricochet and DOT. It's actually not that different, apart from it has more DPS overall than the Caliber Driver Mark 1, but has less overall than the Caliber Driver Mark 2, because the Mark 2 Caliber Driver has 4250, and the Reverb Driver has 4000, so, yeah. And then, on the second level, I've got the Decay Revenant for PvP kit out. I've not got any resistance yet, and I don't have any paints to put on this thing. And the Reach Squadrons, which here, Shield Regeneration Suppression, which does this. And this is what I was talking about, and this is really powerful. And I quite do like the idea of that. And then, of course, you can have any squadron in here, aside from that. which is pretty good, of course. Now, what I might have done before, or unless... No, the Reach Squadron is the first kinetic one we actually got. So, that means that we now have kinetic drones. I did not realise that until I just looked, but we now have kinetic drones. I thought we already had those, but clearly we did not. Don't mind me just rearranging my base while I'm talking. And just keeping myself occupied, because there's always something to do. But essentially, now that means that we have kinetic drones for the fleet, so that's actually really helpful. So yeah. Also, Inquest event, pre-fitted Subverter as usual is the 10,000 intel. The Subverter blueprint can be got from the target rater of Liberator Cirrus 112 here, which gives all the blueprint pieces that I found. As usual, you can get the normal ones, Caustic, which I'll be doing eventually, Arc, Commandante, Deadeye, Breaker, blah 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 blah. So yeah, that's all pretty interesting. So we got quite a lot of stuff going on there, and that's like, it's really interesting that they brought out the new ship class as well, hull type, whatever, for this, because if I look back to Subverter in here, right here, debuffer, that's the ship class. So, a debuffer designated hull is adept at spreading various status effects amongst enemies, opening them up for more damage. A debuffer features stronger defenses at the cost of offensive firepower. So, in other words, it's the complete opposite to the Breaker. It's extremely strong, but deals very little damage. However, it makes it so other ships in the fleet can do more damage. This means that if I was to pair 2 Subverters inside of one fleet with my Taurus Dreadnought, that would mean that I would 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100 have just the capabilities of dealing more and more damage. Also, don't mind me just fitting another breaker out, because I finally got back into another Mark V breaker, so I'm becoming way too powerful for my own good right now. I'm going to be moving on to the elite breakers very shortly, which will be ridiculously overpowered. Let me just get this ionized optics Mark III. I've been way too powerful recently with these. Like, way too powerful. Like, you have no clue how strong I've become over just these 2 months. I've been getting all these breakers upgraded to Mark V. I've only got 1 more to go. In 15 hours from now, I will be getting another Breaker Mark V, because I can just farm a Breaker Mark V in one go now. And then it'll be on to the elite breakers, and my hopes is to get a full fleet of elite breakers, and then I'm going to show all of you what it's like to be that powerful. Because if I can get a full fleet of elite breakers, that's enough to kill at least a Mark III Taurus Dreadnought, which is insane. Because the Taurus itself is actually not that strong against higher tier ships, so a full fleet of elite breakers would probably kill a Taurus Mark III, which is pretty insane in itself. Speaking of which, if I go to this Liberator Dynasty over here, and I look, I'm almost actually at the Taurus Mark II, so when I get the Taurus Mark II, I will show you my fit for it, and I will actually showcase that as well, to say this is like a comparison of the Taurus Mark I and the Taurus Mark II compared to the both times that I actually used them. So lots of future plans for that. And like once I've got the Taurus Mark II, that's what I'll be doing. And I honestly, that'll be pretty fun to work out, because there's going to be like, if I check here actually, Taurus Mark II, the modifiers, it boosts the Altarian damage, Umbra damage, and Pharmacon damage by 25%, the armor health by 300%, the DP... oh, hold on. Ah, okay, that's what that means. A new note, that means it's gone up. So the DPS goes up a bit from whatever it previously was. Hang on, let's check here. DPS 100%. Aha, okay. So that goes up by 20%, Resurgence goes up, and Shield Energy goes up. Alright. The max mass goes up by 3%, the cargo goes up by 20%. Okay, so that means that I could probably get a better fit for it anyways. So, yeah, that's pretty fun to think about. And I suppose that once I get there, like, there's another video up. And although I would be a bit late because I'm very, very slow at grinding this game, but it's better late than never. And honestly, as long as I've got those videos up there, I'm good. So, you know, that's future plans, all good things to be sorted out eventually. I've spent 3 minutes talking about that. Almost 4 minutes. There we go, 4 minutes. So, yeah. I'm gonna shut up now. And I'm sorry that I disappeared for 2 months, but the school's being annoying and whatnot. This is the school holiday, so I'm going to try and get as much as I can uploaded throughout this 1 week that I have. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye!